Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting. And today we're going to actually jump back and look at some of the biggest stories from 2024 that were unanswered. There's a lot happening in the world of cord cutting, including MeTV announcing it's launching a free streaming channel, which hasn't happened yet. We'll take a look at what's happening there. Disney and ESPN buying the NFL Network. It could happen. It was reported as in the works. We'll tell you where that stands and what's happening. And then Paramount Plus and Peacock merging. It's very likely to become a reality. These stories and a whole lot more coming up in a quick second. First though, hey, I'm actually traveling today, so if there's any huge breaking news, I know we've been covering CES all week, but if there's any breaking news, look for an additional video to this one be posted later, where I'll break down some big news. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday with another Cord Cutting Today like usual. With that said, if you want to find out more about any of these stories, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so YouTube recommends our videos to more people, helping us grow and hopefully helping you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. All right, 2024, one of the biggest things that happened in the world of cord cutting was the launch of MeTV Toons, widely popular new channel, available free over the air in most markets, and available nationally through Friendly and Philo. Now, when they announced it launching, they said they were going to launch a free ad-supported streaming one to services like Pluto TV, Tubi, and the like. They didn't say which services. They didn't say when it will launch. Reportedly, it's still in the works. They're just kind of waiting for the right moment to do it. I'm sure they have a lot of internal measurements. One of the things being probably the initial success of helping it drive subscriptions to things like Philo and Friendly TV, helping them delay the launch. Now, I fully expect this to still launch probably in 2025. All reports I've heard is it's still in the works. Now, there's a few important caveats with this. It will not be the same feed as what you get with your antenna or a subscription to one of the services that offer it. It will be a similar lineup of shows, but a different lineup. Much like you see on other channels you see on Pluto, Tubi, the Roku channel, and the like, it's not always the same lineup of channels. Overall, though, I keep an eye on this. MeTV Toons ended up being one of the surprise hits of 2024. I fully expect them to launch it in 2025. Keep a close eye on this story. Let me know. Are you a fan of MeTV Toons? All right, next up, Disney and ESPN are in talks to buy the NFL Network, or at least take it over in a joint venture with the NFL. Now, this was reported in May of last year, and it's kind of popped up a few times since then. According to CNBC, the NFL could take a stake in Disney's ESPN in exchange for the NFL or network, NFL Red Zone, and NFL's Plus being taken over by Disney and being run by the ESPN team. Look for this still to happen. There's a lot of talk that there's back and forth on this, concerns over what some of the other partners would consider like about this. What's CBS, Fox, NBC going to think about ABC now owning the NFL Network, basically, or at least its parent company? Overall, keep an eye on this. I think we're going to see more of this. While the NFL Network still does well, its viewership declined in 2024. It still drives a high amount of advertising revenue, which makes it attractive. But overall, the channel is raising questions. What's the future of television networks like the NFL Network? It used to air quite a few NFL games, like Thursday night games and the like, and now it doesn't anymore. So what's the future? Your guess is as good as mine. It's definitely not as attractive as it once was without all the NFL games that have since been sold to other properties like Amazon. Leave me a comment, let me know, do you watch the NFL Network? Or, we saw a news story about this, increasingly people are moving to things like YouTube instead. Why watch a whole SportsCenter episode where maybe 5 minutes of it are about sporting teams you care about? We can go on YouTube and get highlights and reels and news just about the sports or the teams you're interested in without having to deal with the rest. That's a big problem networks like ESPN, FS1, and NFL Network are experiencing right now, is this hyper-focused on my specific team is very easy now through things like YouTube. where in the past you had to watch things like ESPN, sit through sports and teams you don't care about or news you're not interested in to get the news you are interested in. Leave me a comment, let me know, should Disney be allowed to buy the NFL Network or not? All right, this one's interesting because I fully expect this to happen, or I think it's very likely that they'll get back to the table on this. Let me rephrase that. Paramount Plus and Peacock are reportedly in talks to merge as not the parent companies, not Paramount and not NBC Universal, but a joint venture between the two of them to launch a joint streaming version of Paramount Plus and Peacock into one streaming service. Much like how Discovery Plus and HBO Max merged to create Max, we would get a similar thing. Now, this was reported also in May, and it was initially reported out there that they were in talks to do this. It was looking like it would happen. Both sides have said very clearly, repeatedly throughout the year, that they're interested in a merger or a joint venture for their streaming services. Both of them are struggling to become profitable. Peacock is actually one of the least subscribed to streaming services on the market of the big ones when you look at Disney Plus, Max, Paramount Plus, and the like. But what I'm hearing has held this up is the fact that Paramount went up for sale, or now a merger. And at the time they decided to put the brakes on this to wait to see who would buy Paramount before they looked at any joint ventures. Reportedly, both sides are still interested. There's even reports that Skydance Media, who is merging with Paramount, and their Skydance Media's leadership team is going to take over the leadership of Paramount, are still interested in a possible deal. But that's all going to have to wait until after this merger is approved, hopefully in 2025. There's several roadblocks in its way. With all of that happening, you can understand why the two sides would say, let's put a break on this until we know who the new leadership of Paramount is and what's happening there. Because there's still a minor, I think it's very likely these mergers between Paramount and Skydance will happen, but there's still a minor chance, a slight chance, I should say, that they won't. And if they don't, that could even make the merger, very different. We'll see. But look for that. I would not be surprised if this is a total spinoff where Paramount Plus and Peacock are spun off into an independent company, and then that company is actually joint owned by Paramount and NBC at some percentage, probably not 50-50. And then the two companies just draw revenue from that joint venture, and you get both Paramount Plus and Peacock content into a single streaming service. We'll wait and see. All right, next up, this one's actually a trend we're seeing. Comcast and many companies are increasingly making it harder to get autopay discounts if you use a credit card or a debit card. That's because the high fees, they really want you to switch over to things like bank accounts. Comcast recently announced that credit card and debit card autopay discount is dropping all the way down to just $2 a month. Look for that trend to become more common across the board. This is because of high credit card fees and the fact that these companies are struggling to become or stay profitable. Look for this to become a growing trend on a wide range of things, from home internet to anything you pay for. The old internet discount or discounts on internet and TV and other things if you autopay kind of becoming a thing of the past. All right, look for the last gasp of DSL and copper phone lines to be coming in the years in advance. We just saw the FCC grant AT&T permission to shut down its copper networks and replace some of it with 5G wireless services for 5G like home phone and home internet in areas where they don't have fiber. Look for many other companies to jump on this bandwagon. It's not a new thing. We've slowly been seeing copper lines shut down across the country, being replaced by fiber. Problem is, AT&T's made it clear in the remaining markets, maybe about half of them or half of those customers may find themselves without a fiber replacement when copper shuts down. Instead, AT&T's promising 5G home internet and 5G home phone service to replace it. Now that that's been approved by the FCC, I fully expect to see many other companies jump on this bandwagon in 2025 and shut down their service. Because let's be honest, it's expensive, it's slow, it's often archaic by current standards, requiring older technology that's maybe not being produced like it used to, making it very expensive to get their hands on replacement parts. So we'll keep a close eye on it. Also, you have a widespread issue of people stealing the copper lines. That's been a big problem, cutting off service for many people. And often they think they're stealing copper and they cut fiber, and that's a real mess. And what's happening there is the fact that, copper is high and they're ripping it off telephone poles to try to steal that copper lines there. All right, last story up of the day, YouTube TV and Hulu Plus adding RSNs again. This is one of the most common questions. Now, this was really kicked off as recently Rip City Television Networks for Portland Trailblazers on other sports, a new RSN announced that they are going to launch one, and in 2025 they'll be coming to streaming services like YouTube TV and Hulu Plus Live TV. No date announced when this happens, but it raised a lot of hope that more RSNs would come to these services that actually been dropping a lot of them. Now, both of them do have a few RSNs. YouTube TV has a couple in a few markets, but most do not. They don't carry most RSNs. I know I always get these comments, YouTube TV doesn't carry any RSNs. That's not fully true. They actually do carry a couple, like NBC Sports RSNs are on there in the few markets that's still offered. Look for that to be something that's going to be high demand. I do not expect, just because one is coming to YouTube TV, reportedly, according to that company, no announcement from YouTube or Hulu Plus Live, I don't think we're going to see a lot of RSNs. The cost of RSNs versus the number of people watching it, what these executives said, are just not worth it. For the people who absolutely want it, absolutely need those RSNs, is a smaller market. And increasingly, these RSNs offer standalone streaming options, which allow those customers who really want it to go subscribe without needing it to be bundled into YouTube TV. Well, there you go. There are some of the biggest stories that were left unanswered in 2024. Let me know which one stood out to you the most. Which one do you hope becomes a reality? I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.